Hello and welcome to Association Rockstars, where we hear about the journey and insights of amazing association executives and partners who are building the association industry of tomorrow. My name is Lowell Applebaum. I'm the CEO of Vistacova, where we partner with organizations on facilitation, strategy, and governance. And it's my absolute pleasure to have with me today Dawn Amaskane, CAE CMP. Dawn is the Associate Vice President of Administrative Affairs for the American Osteopathic Association, which is based in Chicago, and she has 20 years of well-rounded association experience. As a business event strategist, she oversees all association meetings, and in addition, she leads key governance structures and operations, as well as implements association-wide strategies based on their strategic plan. She's an active member in the association community, a member of the Association Forum of Chicagoland, the American Society of Association Executives, and the Professional Convention Management Association. Dawn serves as secretary in the PCMA Greater Midwest Chapter, and in 2022 was honored and received the Association Professional Achievement Award from Association Forum of Chicagoland. Dawn, we're so happy you could be with us today.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Lowell, for having me.
You know, when we start these conversations, we always like to take a moment just to step back and recognize that although we talk to lots of rock stars, they're not all the same, right? We each have our places of great strength, which at least in my household with the kids, we call superpowers. So we always like to just ask to start, as you think about like your journey, your success, and you won awards, what's one of your superpowers?
Well, that's a pretty tough question to think about here, but I would say my superpower would be tenacity. And the reason I would say that is twofold. Is obviously tenacity means, motivated, keep moving forward, keep striving ahead. And I would say one of the strengths of tenacity for me would be being an organizer of chaos, a problem solver, organizer of structure, and really trying to keep moving forward to set up our teams for success and giving them the tools and keep driving them and motivating them to move forward on different initiatives.
When it comes to tenacity, that is such a key strength to have, especially in a moment in time when there's been so much disruption. Tenacity as a platform of strength to drive through it. Do you find that was something in terms of it being a strength that you were born with? It's something you learned along the way? Like if we were talking to like early Dawn back in grade school, like she had the tenacity back then?
I think it was always in me per se, but I think as I've matured and years go on, and I think in environments I've been in, I think it's pushed me to drive and strengthen that skill.
Do you find in terms of how you work with the teams that either you oversee or you partner with, a skill that can be learned, a skill that further develops, or it's really just one that through experience it develops?
I think if you have to have it in you, and you could enhance that and keep developing it.
So I know your association path stretches over the course of more than a decade, I believe even 2 decades. What first brought you in? Like, how'd you find your way here?
Yeah, well, I actually fell into associations. I think like many that I've talked to and many that we know, my first job was working at association here in the Chicagoland area, and I started off, again, it was my first job out of college, not really knowing what association was or what it could be, and I was at an assistant level working for some pretty dynamic individuals. And so I think having those individuals as my mentors and bosses really brought me in and let me experience what associations are all about. And from that point forward, I just enjoy working for various associations and the missions and all the things that they bring for either that profession, but then also being a member of an association too, I think is super important and really critical as we continue at our growth as professionals as well.
2 paths I want to ask you about. Let's ask about the career journey, and then we'll ask about the belonging to professional association one. So you came in as an assistant, but we were just talking about the council meeting you're planning for over 1,000 delegates, your House of Delegates meeting. So it seems that over the course of the years, perhaps you've advanced along the way there to some fairly weighty responsibilities. Any lessons learned along the way? Like what were some of the secrets to the success of your growth and advancement in the association world?
Yeah, well, I think I think it goes back to determination, right? And wanting to continue to learn and to grow. And it really also comes down to those who are around you and support you. And, for me, when I was in my 20s, working as an assistant in more of the education space, so to speak, I also had the ability to kind of have a line of sight to other pieces of associations from the meetings and the executive piece as well. And I enjoyed the meetings portion of the association work. And so that was at that point in time a trajectory that I wanted to take. And so just from connections and working with others in my first association, I met others who moved on to a bigger association, and there was an opportunity there. And so they asked me if I wanted to apply, and I did. And so then I moved on to a bigger association focused on meetings specifically. And so that journey, I think, was critical for a lot of my trajectory. When you work for a large association only focused on very big meetings, you learn a lot of different pieces, and you learn to interact with the governance and the board, and then internally and all of that. And so working through all of that, and then continuing that business event strategist trade was something that I spent a lot of my years in, and moved to another kind of smaller organization, and then coming to my current organization here. And then I got to a point where I wanted to continue to expand and grow. And so I was fortunate to have the opportunity in my current organization to expand my scope of work to include overseeing of meetings, but then also begin the journey of governance, operations, and working in like the executive level more closely with the CEO, chief of staff, and the board, and that governance structure. So that's kind of my trajectory, and it's more because I was at that stage of my life that I wanted to branch out a little bit more beyond just the meetings and event space.
If it's okay, I want to ask a moment about that. It's not one in terms of hearing trajectories. You didn't certainly leave the path you were on, but you recognized you wanted to have another component to it, right? Like the event strategist, and more than that. In the recognition of that, is there any narrative you can give us about how you recognize that, or how you recognized in terms of wanting to not just do that, what else you wanted to do? Like did you have to ask? Did someone identify it? Like what's the story behind that step? Because that's a really key one in an executive trajectory.
Yeah, no, I think it really was it was really personal for me in looking at where I was when I was in my early 40s. And I determined that, I wanted to move, that being in a business event strategist is important, and I enjoy that quite a bit. But I wanted more for myself as I look towards, how I want to end my career. And I believe that a lot of what I've learned being a business event strategist has a lot of the key skill sets to move to the next level in terms of operations and structure and all of that. And so for me, I wanted more for myself. And so I continued, and having mentors in the association community and speaking to them too, of kind of towing the water and saying, this is what I want. This is kind of what I'm trying to do, was helpful. And so I was trying to look at that path for myself of how I can get there. And I'll say, there's a lot of terrible things that happen with the pandemic and COVID. But for me, I took that opportunity to learn. And that's how, when I studied for my CAE, and that's how I got my CAE, was during that time period.
But we love to see those letters after a name, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I learned a lot in that process as well. So, so I would just encourage, others too, if you're looking at especially in the association community, there are other pathways that just because you are maybe skilled in either membership or meetings or something else, that there's a lot of transferable skills that you can you learn and you can ascertain to move to maybe something different within the association community.
I'm interested, as you've spent time and grown as an event strategist, and as you said, even navigated pandemic, the role of event strategist as it sits today, where do you see that it's changed, and any thoughts you have on what it's going to look like in the coming years? Is it exactly the same as it once was?
No, it's definitely not the same as it once was. So, I think it's learning and growing and being flexible, right? Obviously, as many other industries, the meetings industry in particular, hospitality industry, really took a hit during the pandemic. And as things are coming back now, a lot of things have changed, right? And it's shifting and learning how to do business differently. But I would also say that that's not just necessarily in hospitality. I would say that's the same for associations and other industries as well. So, it's changing, it's evolving. So it's the ability to be flexible and nimble and work, with how things are shifting and is important. Is it changing? Yes, I think it's changing as folks now have choice and opportunity, whether it's going in person or staying at home. And so it's creating how do you create the differences to inspire folks to actually want to come to a meeting in person?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Do you have any answers to your own question? How do you inspire folks to want to come to a
That's the $1 million question, right?
I
So
know.
there's a lot out there, but it's about value, experience, and what is, there's always going to be the value of face-to-face, right? Because face-to-face is so critically important and now in networking, and that's how, like, I've made a lot of connections, and I know you and others too. Face-to-face is so important. That's how you really meet folks and individuals. But having there has to be a little bit more than that, I think, for some, especially for some of the younger generation coming in. I think they need a little bit more than that. So I think it's working through that and seeing what that looks like right in the next 5 years.
You mentioned along your trajectory along the way, the key role that a number of mentors that you had played and be able to talk out what dipping your toe in the water, making the full shift looked like. I wonder if you have any reflections on how you found those mentors, like how'd you find the mentors, and what for you has made mentoring relationships of strength?
For me, I wasn't seeking a mentor. I think it just happens naturally. You meet individuals, whether they are on your team or at other organizations, and at times you just click with people, right? And it's just staying connected and just making connections here and there, touch points to start a collegial, relationship, so to speak. And when you do that and you're around and you feel comfortable, you can just kind of start asking questions of, what do you think about this? Or I'm thinking about doing this. But for me, it's a small circle of folks that I have conversations like that with.
Well, I imagine, I know that you're involved in a number of organizations, and whether it's PCMA or whether it's Association Forum, where it sounds like, more local, or where you've been volunteering, any reflections you have in terms of that part of your journey, right? How did you get involved? How did you feel welcome? Like, did someone bring you in? Did you put yourself forward? Like, as executives are looking, as those that want to be executives are looking to get involved in these types of organizations, any lessons learned from your own journey?
Yeah, I would say that, when it comes to a couple of the organizations like PCMA, I had been a member for a while and wasn't super active, and that was when I had younger children, so it was a little bit difficult for a time commitment. But as years went by, I did have a few industry colleagues that asked me to kind of join, and be a part of committees and such. And so I think an ask. And so if you're looking at, for associations for members and becoming involved, I think sometimes for me, it was easier to have someone ask me to say, I think you should come to this or come to this event and get involved this way. And that would be the same true for Association Forum as well. It's being asked by others to you should look at this and put it out there. And I do think it's important as professionals, we work in our professional job with our organization as our primary focus to get our job done. But I would say that the value that I have received from being a part of other associations for my own professional journey is so critical and so important. And really the things that I learned from these volunteering on these committees or just being a part of them, I take that back actually to better myself, but also better my team and the organization I work with to bring different things back from what I learned to help, even if it's different perspectives, because, we can do things a certain way all the time, but hearing how others might achieve or do things along the same course that might be different, I think opens up a broader perspective.
I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, one more, and then I'll I know our time's getting short. As you think about the journey you have ahead, right, as you continue to grow in your career, where are you looking to grow? Like, where are you have 2 certifications, right? You have a great position. Are there things that your new skill sets you're looking to acquire, or other things that you're looking to learn?
Yeah, I think we all should continue to keep learning as we grow, right, and as we mature. There's always that learning aspect of it, and for me, where I'm at in my trajectory is, going to that next level of understanding bigger pictures and having that executive poise, so to speak, in moving into a C-suite position here to in the next 10 years or so is something that I'm looking at, because from my perspective, as we growing into that role is a little bit different in terms of your thought process and the maturing of your thought process and seeing things from a helicopter view, so to speak, versus a day-to-day view.
I think that's a nice transition to our closing question, which is far, far, far in the future, as you are retiring and reflect on the path that you've walked in the association world. What do you hope the legacy is you leave behind?
So, I think a legacy I would hope would be that if you have an open mind, anything is possible and anyone is teachable. And so, and to be respectful to everyone, and relationships are really powerful. And so my hope is that just being kind, being gracious, always looking to help others and have others help you. That's something that I would hope that someone would say that I did or I would be a part of.
I love that. Well, kind, gracious, it's been a pleasure to have time with you today and to have you share your wisdom on your journey with everyone who tunes in. Thank you so much for being with us, Dawn.
Thank you so much, I really appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you to Amy, who's there monitoring the social media and talking with you all virtually, and to everyone who tunes in and continues to learn together in our Association Rockstars community. Hoping that as we record this at the end of June, that everyone's having wonderful summer plans ahead, fun in the sun wherever you are, and we will catch you next time on Association Rockstars. Until then, Association Rock On.